Welcome to the Bigger Room Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bender.
And I'm Mel Cobian, and today we're going to talk about how goal setting is not enough.
Why your manifestation is not working.
If you're writing things down that you want to accomplish, but they haven't came true, there are a few reasons why that may be.
You guys are really going to want to listen to this one because I don't know that I even understood that before, but more recently I have absolutely understood the truth behind that. And so if you could sit back with us for 20 minutes, we're gonna unravel this, and I think you're gonna walk away with something super powerful. So let's get into it, Mel.
So let's talk about goal setting first of all, right? When we're writing down our goals, it may be that usually it's like a very specific goal with a very specific time frame. And then you just put it down, pen to paper, like we've mentioned, is a really good tactic to just keep that reminder. But it could be, but what we forget is that, yes, we have the knowing. So there are three things that we need to have. Is not just the knowing that this is the goal we need to accomplish, but also have the intent, right? So you need to feel good about everything. And then the third thing is the doing, taking the action. So if you don't feel good about it, or how you're showing up when you're taking the action, the knowing, so writing down the goals doesn't matter. So do you have, any example? I have a ton, right? But do you have any examples of something like that for you, Jill?
Yeah. Mel and I were kind of, before we started recording, we were sort of talking about stuff that's going on for me more recently. Like even her listening to me, she's like, you have a big shift coming. There's something big change wise is coming. And I know that to be true. I have been feeling that. And even when we talked about the angel numbers, right? I had ones everywhere. I had ones, and that was change, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So my big change isn't here yet. I think it's unraveling at the moment. I mean, maybe it's starting to ravel up. We're getting close. I can feel it. It's not fully developed yet. But yeah, so a lot of stuff's going on with me, and I just said to Mel, I'm like, do you remember like months ago what I kept saying that I didn't want to do anymore? I said the freaking universe was listening, and no matter what I was writing down, no matter how many times I wrote it down, and I tried to make sure I was truly believing it, the universe already heard what I said, and it was kind of like, can't take it back. You said it, and I said it back then with such intention and meaning behind it, and the feeling that I had behind it was so strong that even though I tried to ignore it, the universe didn't let me ignore it. And so stuff is happening now. Changes are happening. And with my business, let's just be clear about where these changes are happening. So yeah, they're happening with my business as we speak. And your words are powerful. And everything we're talking about, that is just like a little... Hopefully that made sense and I wasn't too evasive to make that make sense.
So maybe we break down a little bit of like the law of attraction, or what is manifestation, because you've probably heard this term. This isn't the first time we've mentioned them multiple times. But in order to attract something, right, we always say we don't chase, we attract. So in order to attract things into your life, you need to become what you want to be. You need to, and this is different than envisioning, which is more, we could explain a little bit more about that. But you need to vibrate at the frequency, at the feelings that you want to feel. So if you're showing up to your business, let's use Jill as an example here. Oh, I don't want to create the content, and I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And so then it's like, okay, and so just think about the feelings. Like even when you were thinking about that, you probably felt that in your heart. Maybe you felt that in your stomach. Guys, like we have energy bundles everywhere. So you know, that energy is blocked. So energy is not flowing through you, the universe is not coming through you. It's trying to. The universe is always has your back, and it's ready to pour and give you what you want. Think about the universe pouring through you so that you project the movie of life that you want. You are the creator. So again, you have the knowing of what you want, but the intent is the feelings you don't, it's you're focused on what you don't want. And then the actions, how you take the actions isn't aligned with, I'm super happy, I'm super excited, I'm abundant. So that projection isn't going to come. Right. And you know this, right, Jill? But sometimes, right, we remember, oh, we're human, like we're human. I go through it too. And I inventory my thoughts. And that's why we highly recommend journaling. We highly recommend listening to podcasts like this, other podcasts. This is why we're always reading books, right? Because we are human. We slip back into patterns, right?
Oh my God.
It is easier for the mind to go back to what it's used to. So many people are addicted to the victim mindset and they don't realize it because it's familiar. Right?
Yeah, it's their little comfy, cozy spot that they're used to being in.
Yeah. Or you're just, people who on the weekends, right? Like I hear this all the time. Like I'll go out and then I'll just hear people talking and complaining about work or complaining about their significant other and things like that. Whereas like friends like our vibes, we mastermind when we hang out, right? It's like, how could, like, right? Every time we hang out, like I just gave you some cool tips before this call, and it's like, that's what it is. It's like, you have this going on. Let me feed you some good stuff, right? So that's just an example of how important the law of attraction is and how it works. And when it comes to your goals and wanting to manifest them, also keep in mind that the way the universe works with manifestation is creating something out of nothing. Is you need to be neutral, and you have to be willing to, if you're willing to receive, right? You want to receive all these amazing things from life, but you also have to be willing to give something in return. So for whether that's serving a purpose by helping other people, that is very, very important. Not like, I want a Ferrari and I want a mansion and I want all this stuff, me, greedy, right? Mm-hmm. Universe is going to be like, you know what? Like, that's not benefiting a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. So just don't be greedy with your goals.
Even though I was manifesting and I'm seeing all the angel numbers, like everything was clear, this big change is coming on. But only until, I want to say yesterday, I realized that I was holding back. I internally didn't know. I was resisting. I was resisting what the universe was trying to give me. They're trying to help guide me into this change. And I didn't realize it, but I was kind of like pushing it off and saying, no, I'm not quite there, not quite yet. I'm not quite yet ready. And it really was a big shift yesterday. Within the last 24 hours, this huge, like I said, the changes they're happening. They haven't totally unraveled yet and unfolded, but I knew yesterday it was a big point where I was like, I'm holding myself back. I can freaking manifest all I want. I can do all the journaling and writing down all the things I know, because I do write in I know.
I am.
Yep.
Right. I know.
Yes. And and it was yesterday where I was like, oh, it's me. Remember the episode? I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
Once again. But it is great to have that self-awareness. So I think you guys, once you are more conditioned and make it part of your life, that you're journaling, you're writing stuff down, you're manifesting, and even if stuff is not happening, for you to have that capability to have the self-reflection and to know certain things, like you can go, oh shit, yeah, there was a clear sign right there. I freaking pushed it off because of whatever reason. Because maybe you have some resistance of some sort and you just don't know that you have that resistance. Like You might have an idea, an inkling that it's there. It could be somebody in your life. It could be a spouse. It could be a kid. It could be you're afraid of judgment for some reason. Like, it could be anything that's just, but how do you know?
Yeah. How do you know unless you're willing to be vulnerable with yourself, right? Jill,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
mentioned, we talked before this and you were vulnerable, you shared with me. And that's, that's why journaling is important, because sometimes you may not feel comfortable sharing with someone. Maybe, Jill, you can probably even go deeper, right? As you write things down, like maybe more stuff will come out. And that, in that moment, when you are aware, it is what one of my mentors calls it the choice point in life. You are at a choice point where you get to decide, how do I transform this energy? How do I transform it, right? I have this anger, I have this sadness, I have this fear. How can I use it to my benefit? How can I use it to fuel me so that I can show up differently and not be a victim? How could I use it to my benefit, right? You're an alchemist. You are meant to do this. That's what we are designed to do. We're electric bodies. We're energy. So it's okay if it's, I don't even like saying the word negative, because really what we are is we're positive and negative, and we have to try to return to neutral. And that is embracing, how can I expand my mind by giving yourself feedback? Okay, how can I receive, well, same thing. Give yourself the feedback. We are constantly expanding. We're constantly receiving. We have to stay neutral with all our situations. And the most important question that I've been asked this year is, how can you still show up in your life loving the situation you're in? And when I was asked that, I was like, dang, okay, let me fall in love with my situation then. And it changed a lot for me, because I went from, having emotions and feelings about things and people to coming back home, which is being neutral. Then it's like, okay, now stuff is shifting once again to my benefit, because I know I have the knowing. And I like to always envision, if, again, we're human, right? If my brain, my mind, starts shifting elsewhere, have, these weird thoughts, I'm like, okay, this is a straight line. My goals are at the end here. And every time I have these thoughts, I start turning direction. So I literally envision like everything I want in a straight line. So really, like, think about coming back home. Find that compass within you to align to your goals. And every time you have a thought, you start going away from it. You're going to a different path. It's just a maze. So, there's one way in, one way out. So just find what that is for you.
One of the things that I allowed myself to do these last 3 days, because I was like, just in my head, I was just going crazy. And if you guys have been listening long enough, you know that I'm like super, super positive, like happy person all the time. So when I'm not positive or happy, like that, my whole system wants to shut down, because we don't know how to behave. We don't know how to act at all. And so I pulled out my journal. I think it was Saturday night. I pulled out my journal. I'm like, okay, I need a journal. And I grabbed the pen and went to the paper, and I was about to say, I know this, I know that, I know I am. And I was manifesting what I wanted, and that's how I've been journaling for like a while now. And I was like, I can't do that tonight. I am going to put down what the freaking hell is going on right now. Like, so I journaled like a little kid kind of journal is what I think of it as, which is how I always used to journal. And I was just writing down like some of the shit that was in my head. I'm like, here's what's going on. Here's some of my fears. Here is, like what I feel stuck at. And I don't normally put that stuff in there, because to me, in my mind, it's a negative thing, and I don't want negative in there. But it was such a necessary thing for me to write down and like get it out of my head, put it on paper, see, like what the issues were. And then toward the end, I was like, I know I'll turn this around. I'm not worried about it. I felt way better even at that point that I was able to do that. Just let it all come out of my head onto paper, whatever the fucking hell was wrong. Whether it was positive, negative, had to come out. And knowing me, I probably said it in a positive way anyway. It's not like I was complaining on paper or anything. I'm sure I said it in a positive way. And then I ended it with something, it's all going to work out. I'm going to figure it out. Stuff is coming. Something big's going to happen. Like, I'm just in this state right now. And I just have to push through it and get ready, because the universe is going to be like, boom, here it is, Jill.
Exactly.
What we've been saving up for you.
Exactly. So I took a glance at my last journal entry. It's super short, which to me tells me like, okay, cool, that's good. And so I just asked myself, what do you create what you feel? So how do you feel? Is usually how I inventory my feelings. And then like I think back to the most peaceful, the most abundant that I feel, and it's usually when I go camping with my wife and my dogs. I can't even pretend to think when I go camping. So if I'm getting stressed out, I just close my eyes, take a deep breath, and I just picture myself with my wife and my dogs camping, just like living life. And it's so much fun. And it's so peaceful. And it's like, I have nothing around me, yet I am the most fulfilled. So a lot of people get attached to the material stuff. And I've learned this year more than any other time in my entire life that stuff doesn't matter. You need to be fulfilled inside.
I've learned it.
Right? You need to be fulfilled inside. That is true wealth. That is, goodness gracious, that is a true wealth. And I am so lucky to have discovered that, because I think it's very easy to get lost. You know, this is why you hear, oh my gosh, people might hate this, but this is why you hear with some people like, they have money, but they're so unhappy, right? It's because nothing can replace being fulfilled, feeling happy, feeling like you have a purpose. That is what people crave. It's like, if you have all this money, but you still feel like you don't have a purpose, think about that for a second here, right? So Jill says something very important that I want you guys to really, really ponder about, because the universe will give you what you can handle. And if things are not working out the way that you want them to, let go of the how. So many people get caught up on the how. It's like, this is what I want. This is how I'm going to do it. Let go of the how. The moment you tell the universe, this is how I'm going to do it, you're telling the universe that this is the path, like, you know better than the universe. What if you trust the universe and literally tell the universe, I trust that you know my highest path and my highest timeline, and you're going to get, I trust that that's already unfolding for me. And don't be surprised if it throws a ton of curveballs, like it is throwing a ton of curveballs to Jill right now, because the universe is testing Jill to see if you're ready to expand. Because like I said earlier, maybe you didn't catch what I said, but it's, you want to receive, but you have to be willing to expand as a human, right? So we all want to receive this stuff, but are you willing to expand your mind? Are you willing to expand your heart and be somebody that leads with love, compassion, and non-judgment? So if you want to receive, be willing to expand and be intentional. Be intentional. So Jill has something big coming. No doubt about it.
You guys better hit that alert button or whatever that rings that bell. You're not going to want to miss it.
Exactly.
It'll be amazing.
Yeah. So this is why writing your goals down is not enough. You have to be willing to expand. You have to be willing to do the work and show up with the feelings of, I know, I am, it is done, trust the universe, let go of the how. Just write it down and the universe will get to work.
Yeah. On that note, we thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you got a lot of value out of today's episode. If you did, feel free to shoot us a message, leave us a comment, and definitely if you could leave us a review or share our podcast, we'd really, really appreciate it. And we thank you so much for listening.
That's it for this one. We'll see you next week.